Bible. This is not just a passage by passage thing. This is kind of just an overview and kind of the symbolic meaning of the number as you're going through the Bible. And I don't want you to get, again, I'm going to say this every time, I don't want you to get so bogged down with this and start counting letters and numbers, and all those kind of things that you lose sight of what God is trying to say through His Word. It's easy to do that when you get into a study like this. So don't do that. I do believe that God is a God of order and that He puts everything in His Word for purpose, and even numbers have meaning. He don't arbitrarily put numbers in the Bible. And so and like I said before, he's even got a book called Numbers, So these things are not just arbitrary. And but at the same time, this doesn't change the gospel. It doesn't change our purpose. It doesn't change anything like that. This only enhances our study as we're reading through the Bible. And how many of you, now that we've been looking at some of these numbers, have been seeing things around that you didn't see before? Anybody done that? 3, hey man, there they are, or 2, or And so it is kind of interesting how much of a role it plays in our life, and we don't even realize it a lot of times. But we've looked all the way through from number 1 up through number 5, and we're going to look at number 6 and number 7 tonight. I'm hoping we get through this. I've been kind of a little bit short. Been putting 2 of them in there on the past Wednesday nights, but this one is packed. All right, 6 not so much, but 7 is jam-packed in there. There's so many things. And I hope we can cover all of that tonight. If not, we may do an addition or an extension into next week. So the number 1, what does it stand for? What is the symbolic meaning of the number 1? Unity. All right, the number 2, division. The number 3, well, Miss Ann's been paying attention. It's wholeness, completeness. That's number 3. All right, number 4, the earth, pertaining to the earth. All right, number 5. It pertains to death, and we looked at so many verses about that, all right? And then now we're getting into number 6. The number 6, and this is, let's go to Genesis chapter 1. And we've started in Genesis many times as we're looking at some of these numbers, because it kind of, the law of first mention that I mentioned to you before, the first time something is mentioned is usually a good indicator of what that thing or that word or that phrase is going to basically mean. And so in Genesis chapter 1, verse number 21, of course, this is the creation account, and it says, "And God created whales and every living creature that moveth, which the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and after winged fowl after his kind. And God saw that it was good, and God blessed them, saying, Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the sea, and let fowls multiply in the earth. And the evening and the morning were the 5th day." Now we're getting to the 6th day. All right, remember 6. "And God said, Let the earth bring forth living creatures after his kind, cattle and creeping thing, and the beast of the earth after his kind. And it was so. And God made the beast of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And God said, Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over the earth, all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. And God blessed them. And God said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of the tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat. And to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat. And it was so. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the 6th day. What is the pinnacle on the 6th day of creation? What is he's talking about beasts, he's talking about all those, but who does he put in charge of all of it? He puts man in charge of it. And so the 6th day was when God established man and the dominion that man would have over all of the earth. And so when you're thinking about the number 6, it is the number of man. All right, so we see that in the 6th day. I want us to go to Exodus for a moment. And I'm just going to give you just a few of these and you can kind of see how some of these are tied together. Exodus chapter 20, verse number 8. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. All right, the Sabbath day. Which day is that? That is actually the 7th day. All right, that's the 7th day. So what are you supposed to do the other 6 days? Go to chapter 23. Exodus 23, verse number 10. This is the years. And 6 years thou shalt sow the land and shalt gather in the fruits thereof, but the 7th year thou shalt let it rest and lie still. All right, so there you have 6 years of working. There's the number 6. And then also in the week you have 6 days that man is to work. Man is to labor for 6 days. So you have that. So again, 6 tied with man and his labor. 6 years tied with man and his labor, not the 7th year. The 7th, and just for comparison here, we're going to get into that, but the 7th is perfection, completion, and perfection. Whereas number 3 was completion and wholeness, number 7 is completion and perfection. All right, so it's a little bit different. All right, but as you're looking at like the numbers of the week, you have 6 days that is tied to man for him to work, and the 7th day is for rest. All right. In Joshua chapter 6, hold on. Well, in Moses, when he was going to Mount Sinai in chapter 24 of Exodus, he had to wait for God for 6 days. All right, so he waited for 6 days, and then the 7th day is when God met with him face to face. All right, so he's waiting for those 6 days. All right, and then Joshua chapter 6 is when, you remember the Battle of Jericho? You remember that? All right, so, and the idea of 7 being perfection, and man always falls short. You got what I'm saying? He always falls short of perfection, always. And so when you're thinking about Joshua chapter 6, there is a story of the Battle of Jericho, and for 6 days they marched around it. Marched around Jericho. He had already given it to them. I've given you the mighty man. I've given you this city. And they marched around it 6 days. And then on the 7th day, they marched around it 7 times. All right, we'll come back to that. And then that's when the walls fell down. That is perfection. You got what I'm saying? So 6 days, man couldn't do it in and of himself. All right, that's the number of man. He falls short. And again, in creation, he falls short. With that, he doesn't, his labor, he has 6 days of labor, 6 years of labor as well. Let's see here, Daniel, I wrote down one here, Daniel 3:1. Nebuchadnezzar made an image of gold whose height was 60 cubits. How many is 60? It's 60, all right? And the breadth thereof, 6 cubits. There's the number 6. He set it upon the plain at Dura, the province of Babylon. Again, there's 6s tied with this, and this is a statue that man made, that Nebuchadnezzar made. And, of course, that statue, if you study into that, it gives you the empires that ruled the world, basically, on that statue that he created, the gold, and then you get down the iron and clay and the silver and all that, and such, so on and so forth. And then also, when you're thinking about, again, 7 being perfection, man being number 6, and falling short of perfection, look at Revelation 13. Now remember, the Antichrist, he's supposed to be a Superman. You know, if you really study him, He's going to be a military genius. He's going to be an economic genius. He's going to be an orator. There's all sorts. He's going to be a political figure. There's all these things that the Bible gives us, the type of person he's going to be. And by the way, the world is looking for someone like that. I'm just going to be honest with you. They're looking for someone like that even right now. Someone that's going to fix all these problems that we got. You know, that's who they're looking for. And of course, he's going to come on the scene like he's able to fix all these problems. He's going to fix all these problems, but he's not going to be able to. But remember, the Antichrist is a man. You have three characters in this narrative. In Revelation, you have the beast, the false prophet, and the Antichrist. And so let's look at the beast is Satan, the false prophet is the false prophet, and then the Antichrist is the Antichrist. He's a man. All right, so Revelation 13, verse number 3. And I saw one of his heads, as it were, wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast, and they worshiped the dragon. Who's the dragon? That's Satan, which gave power unto the beast. And they worshiped the beast, saying, Who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies, and power was given unto him to continue 42 months. That's 3.5 years. And he opened his mouth in blasphemy against God, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them, and power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world. If any man have an ear, let him hear. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. And I beheld another beast coming out of the earth, who had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. And he exercised the power of the first beast before him, and causeth the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was healed. And he doth great wonders, so that he make fire come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men, and deceiveth them that dwell on the earth by the means of those miracles that had power to do in the sight of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth, that they should make an image to the beast, which had the wound by a sword and did live. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand and in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save that he had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Here is wisdom. Let he that hath an understanding count the number of the beast, for it is number of man. All right, now, so this tells you, this is the number of man. Isn't that what it says? This is the number of man. And his number is 666. There's 3 sixes there. 600, 3 score, and 6. 3 scores again, 60. All right, so 666, that is the number of man. So you see that there again, and again, that is tied with the Antichrist, who is a man. All right, so you have that. One other interesting thing that I'll throw in here, but if you go Job, in the book of Job, his name is mentioned 6 times in the first chapter. And when you get down after that, he is accused by, let me find it here. He is accused by Satan. If you remember that story, we don't have time to go back and read all of it. But in Job chapter 1, verse number 9, this is the 6th time that Job is mentioned. And in verse number 9 it says, Then Satan answered the Lord and said, Doth Job fear God for naught? So this is the 6th time that Job is mentioned, and then also he is questioned, or Satan questions Job, or questions God about Job with 6 words. All right, so but again, that's just a little interesting tidbit there. So you have 6s, all right, and so you could go through the Bible and discovering all these things, but really that is not the purpose that the Bible is here. But it does help our understanding sometimes when we're reading passages like that to help us know what the Lord is trying to say. So the number 6, what is that tied to? It's tied to man. All right. Let's go into the number 7. And you will, even worldly, secular knowledge, it will say that 7 is a lucky number. All right, you'll hear that. Lucky number 7. All right, well, luck has nothing to do with it, all right? And by the way, that ought not be a word that Christians even use about their life or about because there is no such thing as luck when it comes to the Christian. It is all the hand of God upon your life and the blessings of God upon your life and the favor of God upon your life. All right, so the number 7, this has to do with perfection and completion. And I hope that you'll see this as we go through, but there are so many. I mean, the number 1 is mentioned probably the most, and then number 7 would be next. And there are over 700 times it is mentioned, the number 7, throughout the Bible, 54 times in the book of Revelation. Revelation contains the number of 7. Remember, what is Revelation? It is the revelation of Jesus Christ, but it gives us prophecy. It's winding down. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, there is you have 7 churches. You have I'll get to that in a minute. But the whole premise for the book of Revelation is this thing is winding down, and you're getting to the final stages. You'll get to the millennial reign, which is supposed to be the actual 7th dispensation, and so. You have all of that through the book of Revelation. Let's look at a few of them, all right? But Revelation chapter 10, verse number 7. Talks about the 7th angel. But in the days of the voice of the 7th angel, when he shall begin to sound, the mystery of God should be finished. All right, do you see that? Now, the 7th angel, he's saying something, and it's going to be finished or completed. And let me just say, it's not just completion in the number 7, it is perfection. I mean, it is over, it is done, it is completed and perfected. All right, so we see that there, and the 7th angel is tied with it being finished, and he is declared to his servants, the prophets. All right, and then you have Revelation chapter 16 is mentioned again. Nope, I might have wrote that one down wrong. Oh, yeah, no. And one of the 4, no, that's 15. And look at verse 15, chapter 15, verse number 7. And one of the 4 beasts gave unto the 7 angels 7 golden vials full of wrath of God, who liveth forever and ever. Again, and God is perfect. We know he is perfect. His wrath is going to be completed and perfected. And you have that there, the 7 angels pouring out 7 golden vials. All right, throughout the book of Revelation, you have 7 churches, 7 spirits, 7 angels, 7 seals, 7 trumpets, 7 woes, 7 new things. All right, so that's just in the book of Revelation there. All right, so backing off of Revelation for a moment, but you have 7 days of creation. All right, and of course God said it was good, it was completed, it was perfected. God saw that it was good. All right, so the 7 days of creation. The 7th dispensation, we're going to talk about that in a minute. The 7th dispensation would be the millennial kingdom, and that's again in Revelation. I have a verse written down in Leviticus 23. If you want to just write some of these down so that you can go back and look at them later on, just a reference or something. But Leviticus 23, verse 15. And ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that you brought the sheaf of the wave offering, 7 Sabbaths shall be complete. So there's something we're going to look at. And this is going to do with the Sabbaths. All right, we're going to look at this in a little more detail here. Created, the word created, when God was creating the world in chapter 1 and chapter 2 of Genesis, the word created is used 7 times in Genesis 1. Another kind of interesting thing, just in completion. And how many days are in a week? There are 7. Anybody know how many notes are in a musical scale? A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? How many is that? 7. All right. All right. How many animals did Noah bring onto the ark, or did God send onto the ark, Noah's ark? Anybody know that one? Come on now. I'm not talking about how many total. I'm talking about 2 by 2s. But what about clean animals? All right. There were 7 of those. You can look at that, Genesis 7. If you want to go look at that, I'll just read it for you. All right, Genesis 7, verse number 2. Of every clean beast thou shalt take to thee by 7s, the male and his female, and of the beasts that are not clean by 2, the male and his female. Of the fowls also by the air by 7s, the male and the female, to keep seed alive upon the face of all the earth. For yet 7 days, and I will cause it to rain upon the earth. 40 days and 40 nights. We're going to look at the number 40 when we get there. But so when the animals came in, he brought 7 clean animals in. He brought 2 unclean animals in. All right, so we have the number 7. But how many days after all the animals were on the boat, how many days until it rained, began to rain? It was 7. Let's see here. Did I get down? And Noah went in, and his sons and his wife and his son's wife, and with him into the ark because of the waters of the flood. And then in verses 9 and 10, I believe it is, then went in 2 and 2 unto Noah unto the ark, and the male and the female as God had commanded Noah. And it came to pass that after 7 days that the waters of the flood were upon the earth. Again, after 7 days. Let's see here. Leviticus chapter 8. This deals with the Levites, the priest. Leviticus chapter 8, verse 31. And Moses said unto Aaron and to his sons, boil the flesh at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and there eat it with bread that is in the basket of consecration, as I commanded, saying, Aaron and his sons shall eat it. Am I in the right place? Yes. And that which remaineth of the flesh of the bread shall ye burn with fire. And ye shall not go out of the door of the tabernacle of the congregation in 7 days, until the days of your consecration be at an end. For 7 days shall he consecrate you. So basically, before the priest could ever go into to do his job, how many days did he have to consecrate himself or purify himself to make sure that he was cleansed and consecrated to go in and do the work of the high priest? How many days? Again, perfection. All right, completion, perfection. You see that there. Leviticus 23. One through 4. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them concerning the feast of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocation, even these are my feasts. 6 days shall work be done, but the 7th is the Sabbath of rest, an holy convocation. You shall do no work therein. It is the Sabbath of the Lord in your dwellings. These are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their season. So you see the 6 days, and then the 7th day being perfected, perfecting the week, and that is the day of rest that God has given. But by the way, the feast, God instituted for the Israelites to have certain feasts. And guess what? There were 7 feasts that God instituted. And I'll just read them for you, and you can go study these if you want. But the 7 feasts are, let me find it here, the Passover, the Feast of Unleavened Bread, the Feast of First Fruits, Pentecost, the Feast of Trumpets, the Day of Atonement, and the Feast of Tabernacles. How many is that? It's 7. All right, so God instituted throughout the calendar year to have 7 feasts. And these were all meant to remind them of the Lord and what he had done for him and the completed work that he had done. But anyway, the 7 feasts. Again, Jericho, the Battle of Jericho, we talked about that already. On the 7th day, they marched around 7 times, and then the walls came down. Completion, perfection, the Lord doing that, okay? The candlestick, the article of furniture within the Holy of Holies, the candlestick, it had 7 branches on it, okay? 7 branches. The perfection of light, all right? That's really what that's talking about. He is the light of the world, the perfect light. The Holy Spirit being the oil within those, within that lamp as well. Solomon, it took him 7 years to build the temple. And then when they dedicated that, they feasted for 7 days. Completion, perfection. Jesus, when he was on the cross, he had 7 sayings. All right, there were 7 sayings that he said while he was on the cross, dying on the cross. There in the book of Revelation, there are 7 blessings given to God's people. Let's go. Well, and I'll just give you the references here. Well, let's go look at it. Well, how much time do we have? We've got a little bit of time. Okay. Let's go to Revelation chapter 1, verse 3. Blessed is he that readeth, and they that hear the words of this prophecy, and keep those things which are written therein, for the time is at hand. And you see a blessing to God's people. All right, there in Revelation chapter 1, verse 3, and then also in Revelation chapter 1, verse 14. Nope. No, excuse me, 14:13. I'm sorry, I thought that was a verse. This is a chapter. Revelation 14:13. And I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, Write, blessed are the dead which die in the Lord from henceforth, yea, saith the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors, and their works do follow them. Again, a blessing to God's people. That's number 2. All right, then you have chapter 16, verse number 15. Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. That's number 3, the third blessing. Chapter 19, verse number 9. And he saith unto me, Write, blessed are they which are called unto the marriage supper of the Lamb. And he saith unto me, These are the true sayings of God. Again, what are we up to? That number 4? Chapter 20, verse number 6. Blessed and holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection. On such the second death hath no power. But they shall be priests of God and of Christ, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. All right, that's the 5th one in chapter 20, verse number 6. Chapter 22, verse number 7. Behold, I come quickly. Blessed is he that keepeth the sayings of the prophecy of this book. That's number 6. All right, and then you have chapter 22, verse number 14. Blessed are they that do his commandments, that they might have right to the tree of life, and may enter in through the gate into that city. So there you have in the book of Revelation 7 blessings. All right, there are 7 dispensations. If you rightly divide, and people divide this differently a little bit. You can lump a couple of them together or divide them a little more finely. But all in all, there should be 7 dispensations that you look at. When I say dispensations, this is a period of time and there is a little period of time of transition between these dispensations. When you're talking about that, a dispensation would be like the age of innocence. When would the age of innocence have been? That would have been the period of time that Adam and Eve were in the garden. There was no sin. Everything was perfect. They walked with God in the cool of the day. That was the age of innocence. And again, that would be the perfect environment, all right? And then what happened? And then we have the fall. Some people label this different. Some people label this as the age of conscience, to where now men knew right and wrong, and they had a conscience, all right? remember they ate of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And so now they had a knowledge they didn't have before. Some people call this the age of, or the fall of man. And so you're entering into that dispensation, the age of conscience or the age of the fall of man. That's the second one. The third one is government. Government was established just after Noah. When the ark set ground on Mount Ararat and they left the ark, this is when government began to be established. All right, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth and laws and such as that. Not the law, but just the establishment of a government to enforce right. That's really what a government is there for. All right, or supposed to be what a government is there for. All right, so that's the third one. And then you have the time of the patriarchs. All right, the time of the patriarchs where God begins to establish his covenant. And there are distinct differences here. All right, when God established his covenant with Abraham, it changed a lot of things. There are still items in that. I think we looked at this. Didn't we look at this a while back? The Abrahamic covenant. We looked at some different covenants. But when God made that covenant with Abraham, it was an unconditional and it was eternal covenant that he made with Abraham and his descendants. Some of those covenants, some parts of those covenants have yet to be fulfilled. And they won't be fulfilled until the Lord returns. And that's going to be in a future event. So, again, so you have the patriarchs, the time of the patriarchs. And then you move into the time of the law. You have Moses, and God gave the law on Mount Sinai. How many is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the fifth one, the time of the law. Now, it comes all the way up until the end of the Old Testament. They were under the law. And then when the New Testament started, there was some transition there. But remember what the Pharisees were all about, remember? What were they all about? They were all about the law, keeping the law of Moses. That's what they were all about. But then Jesus came on the scene, and this is the second covenant, the new covenant that was being established when Jesus came. And again, that transition became the church age. All right, so this is the age that we're in at this moment. We're in the church age. And then the next major... And the church age is the sixth dispensation. And then the next major dispensation that's going to happen is the millennial reign, when Jesus comes back and he begins to rule and reign on the earth with a rod of iron. So you have that. The book of life is mentioned 7 times. Do you remember the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego when they were cast into the fiery furnace? Remember that? And how many times hotter was it heated? 7 times hotter. What is the significance of that? I mean, you know, it is as hot as it could possibly get. It was, if you want to say it, perfected. You understand? I mean, that's a kind of a negative context, but it was as hot as they could make it get. It was complete. They couldn't do any more. It was established. It was perfected. All right? The heat, the fire was perfected. All right. All right. Let's go back to Leviticus, and I'm going to slow down here a little bit. I'm giving you a pile of this stuff. All right. So the 7 is all over the place, and believe it or not, when you're looking around you, you'll see 7s, and you'll see it all around. All right. But Leviticus. Let me go to 16. I wrote down 16. Let me go here. 16, 14. Oh, yes. This has to do, I remember how many days the priest had to consecrate himself before he could go do the work of the priest. How many days was that? All right, now when he goes in, chapter 16, verse 14, and he shall take the blood of the bullock and sprinkle it with his finger upon the mercy seat eastward. And before the mercy seat shall he sprinkle of the blood with his finger, how many times? 7 times. So again, complete perfection. You see it there. All right, Leviticus 23. Chapter 23, verse 9. All right, now we're going to spend a little bit of time here, okay? 23 verse 9. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When you come into the land which I give unto you. Now remember, this is way back, and this is a promise that is given to Moses about the promised land, the land of Canaan. And he's saying, when you get into that land, I've got some things I need you to do. And this is what he says. And you... back at verse 10. Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When you come into the land which I give unto you, and shall reap the harvest thereof, then you shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest unto the priest. And he shall wave the sheaf offering before the Lord to accept. Let me see where I'm at here. Yes. To accept it for you on the morrow after the Sabbath, the priest shall wave it. And you shall offer that day, when you wave the sheaf, an he lamb without blemish of the first year, a burnt offering unto the Lord. And the meat offering therefore shall be 2 tenths deals of fine flour mingled with oil, an offering made by fire unto the Lord for a sweet savor. And the drink offering therefore shall be with wine, and the 4th part of an hin. And he shall eat neither bread nor parched corn nor green ears until the selfsame day that ye have brought an offering unto your God. It shall be a statute forever throughout your generation, all your dwelling. And ye shall count unto you from the morrow after the Sabbath, from the day that you bring the sheaf of the wave offering, 7 Sabbaths shall be complete. So you have 7, let's see, where am I at here? 7 weeks, basically here. And ye shall offer a new meat offering unto the Lord. Ye shall bring out of your habitation 2 wave loaves of 2 tenth deals. They shall be of fine flours. They shall be baked with leaven. They are the first fruits unto the Lord. And ye shall offer the bread 7 lambs without blemish of the first year, and 1 young bullock, and 2 rams. They shall be for a burnt offering unto the Lord, with their meat offering and their drink offering, of an offering made of fire, of sweet savor unto the Lord. Then you shall offer sacrifice, 1 kid of the goats for a sin offering, and 2 lambs of the first year of the sacrifice of the peace offerings. And the priest shall wave them with the bread and the first fruits for a wave offering before the Lord, with the 2 lambs that shall be holy to the Lord for the priest. And you shall proclaim the selfsame day that it may be holy convocation unto you. You shall do no servile work therein, and it shall be a statute forever in all your dwellings throughout your generations. So this is a week of weeks, all right? 7 weeks, basically. 7 weeks that you saw it back. This is really not the one I want to get to, but you have where you have every 7th Sabbath, they're supposed to be doing this offering, okay? All right, and then let me get down to verse number... Let's go to verse 26 of the same chapter. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, also, no, that's not the one I want either. Let's go to chapter 25. Okay, here we go. Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When you come into the land which I give you, then shall the land keep a Sabbath unto the Lord. 6 years thou shalt sow thy field, and 6 years thou shalt prune thy vineyards, and gather in the fruit thereof. But in the 7th year shall be a Sabbath of rest unto the land, a Sabbath of the Lord. Thou shalt neither sow thy field nor prune thy vineyard. All right, and then drop down to 26. Verse number, and this is important, all right? So you have, what are they supposed to do the 7th year? With their fields, it's supposed to rest, right? All right, so now let's go to 26, verse 33. And I was, okay. Okay, go back to 27. Now look, he's commanded that the land rest on the 7th year. Now, and he's giving some instruction here about that if they don't follow that. Verse 27, and if you will not for all this hearken unto me, but walk contrary unto me, then I will walk contrary unto you also in fury, and even I will chastise you 7 times for your sins. All right, so The seventh year was supposed to be rest, and how many times was he going to visit it if they disobeyed it? 7 times. And you shall eat the flesh of your sons, and the flesh of your daughters shall you eat, and I will destroy your high places, and cut down your images, and cast your carcasses upon the carcass of your idols. And my soul shall abhor you, and I will make your cities waste, and bring your sanctuaries unto the desolation. And I will not smell the savor of your sweet odors, and I will bring the land into desolation, and your enemies which dwell therein shall be astonished at it. And I will scatter you among the heathen, and I will draw out a sword after you, and your land shall be desolate, and your cities waste. Then shall the land enjoy her Sabbath, as long as it lieth desolate, and be your enemy's land. Even then shall the land rest, and enjoy her Sabbath. And as long as it lieth desolate, it shall rest, because it did not rest in your Sabbath when you dwelt upon it. Let me see where I'm at here. This is, all right, so what is he saying if you don't let the land rest? He's going to visit it back to them 7 times. Isn't that basically what he said? All right, well, there was, I wrote this down. There were 400, when the time that they entered into the land of Canaan, there was some years that they observed this, but then there was a time where they got away from this, and they actually went 400, let me think about this. There was 490 years that they did not do this. They quit observing that seventh year, that seventh Sabbath year, that 7th year of rest. They stopped observing that for 490 years. Now, if you divide that by 7, what do you come up with? 70. How many years were they in Babylonian captivity? They were in Babylonian captivity for 70 years. And basically, that was a direct result. God used Babylon as a direct result of them not letting the land rest, and he brought Babylon in, and they went, of course, there was more to it than that. They were worshiping idols and such as that too. But this is one thing that you can point to, that there was actually that whole thing. There was 70 years. The reason that they were in captivity 70 years is because there was 490 years that they did not let the land rest. In that 490 years, the 7, you got what I'm saying, the 7th year every time, and God revisited that. All right, so there's also another interesting 7. There's 70 weeks, and this is, I tell you what, it's already 7:57. I'm not going to take the time to go into that. We may visit that next week, all right? The 70 weeks, and that's 7 times 7, 70 weeks, 7 times 70, and we'll look at that and how that plays out. But that also plays into the coming of the Messiah, and it's all divisible by 7, and how he lays it out in the book of Daniel hundreds of years before it ever happened. But there's number 7. The way God does that is perfection and completion, and the day of rest. The week is finalized. The years are finalized in the 7 years. This is a renewal. It's called a sabbatical or a Sabbath year. The 7th year there, and that was important to God that Israel disobeyed. So the number 7. And again, it's all over the place. I'm just giving you a few of the highlights here. The number 7, book of Revelation is filled with the number 7s. The number 7's all over. I even read one time, and I don't know if you could really do this, but there was somebody who said that the number of words in the Bible was divisible by 7, the number of consonants was divisible by 7, the number of vowels was divisible by 7, the number of the chapters, all that kind of stuff. I don't know if I go into all that, but anyway, it's interesting to think about from time to time. So the number 1, what is it? Unity. The number 2, division. The number 3, wholeness. The number 4, earth. You have the 4 winds, the 4 corners of the earth. You have all that. All right. Then number 5, it's tied to death. Number 6, man. Number 7, perfection, completion. And so you can think about that with the week that we live. We can think about that with the days of creation. and of course all the other things that we looked at already, the dispensations, all those things. All right, so let's be dismissed, and we'll revisit a little bit of number 7 next week. All right, Lord, we want to thank you again.